Alright, so the fundamental part of modeling, um, basically, things you want to look for. Like I was saying before, you want to look for four-sided faces, um, back face culling, things like that, which I'll kind of explain as I go on. So what I essentially want to do is I want to find a model that, or object that is fairly easy to model, but I'll be able to demonstrate the kind of visual elements of it, and the kind of rules behind it. So I want to model out my character, and I was thinking of kind of going for a mix between like a cute kind of look, but using the texture to kind of give it an eerie feeling. And this will be the character for my Fuzzy Farmer game. So we'll start off polygons here, and then I'll create a cube. And this process is called box modeling. And basically, it's essentially exactly how it sounds. You start with a box, and you model everything from that box. Okay? So I want this character to be relatively boxy. So what I'm going to do is just kind of start with the head here, because I want the head to be bigger than the body. So I'm going to start with the head here, and then I'm going to start extruding the body out from the base underneath. So to do that, we'll go to face mode, select that, go to extrude face, and I'm going to adjust the offset here. And this will essentially be our neck. Alright, so now that we have that, we can go ahead and extrude again. Just pull it down just a hair. And this will be our neck. Okay. So now I want to extrude again and put the offset out. But I don't want this to be square. So I'm going to go to the Resize Tool. And just kind of bring it inward there. And I'm just going to bring it down a touch too. Alright. So I'm going to hit G to repeat the previous action. I'm going to extrude down. Okay, and I actually don't like how big this is. So I'm just going to select all the faces here. Go to scale. Scale that down a little bit more. Bring it up. Yeah, so that's not bad. Alright, so now I want to do my arms. So I'm going to select both these faces, go to extrude. I'm going to offset those. And I'm going to bring them up. Oops. Let's select this guy and then bring him up. And this converts from local space to world space. So I'm going to bring it up, brings them up together. Hit G again. And now, if with this in local space, if I hit the blue one here, it'll bring it out like that. Okay. Okay, so for the feet, I think I might move this up just a little bit. Inward. I'm gonna extrude. Bring this inward too. Right in like that. And I want to select all these edges. Bring that inward. And I'm going to bring this in just a little bit more. And up. give our character kind of a waist. Again, this guy is extremely simple. So, okay, so now we want to protrude two legs from this one face. There's a few ways we can do that, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to divide him right in the center, and I want to have a guide of sorts. So I'm just going to line that up with the line of the grid there. Go to face mode, select both of these, extrude. I'm going to turn off keep faces together. Now I'm going to offset it. Right. Hit G. Move those down. And I think I'll extrude again. Move them down one more time. And actually, you know what? I want to do this like this. So right there, extrude again, and then bring them down. So now I have kind of a knee section. And I'm actually going to do the same thing. These. So I want to hit G. Hit G again. So now I have an elbow section as well. And now, as you can see, everything is a four-sided face. So like here, there's four vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same one up here, up here. So each piece has four vertices, and that's what I meant. What you want to try to avoid would be, like I said before, a triangle. So essentially a line drawn from here to here, that would be three-sided. So 1, 2, and then 3. So you want to try to avoid that. That way the engine can triangulate the entire mesh relatively easily. Let's see what it looks like smooth. Yeah, okay. So now I kind of want to give his body a neat shape, you know. So how I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to bevel all of the external edges here. So I'm holding Control and I'm double clicking on these edges to deselect them. Because I don't want an internal edge beveling at all. I just want my external edges beveling. And that's my tablet going crazy because I just updated it. Selecting all these bits here. And sometimes double clicking will allow you to deselect everything. Sometimes you got to do it by hand. That's no big deal. Alright, it looks like I got everything. I think I did. Alright, so now we can go to Edit Mesh. Oh. And that's interesting. Not quite sure why. Bevel? Oh. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Let's go to the chamfer's working. Huh. That is interesting. Alright, so that works. So it looks like I'm going to try and do this manually here. Or rather, piece by piece. Because for some reason it won't let me do the entire mesh at once. That's okay. I don't like that at all. Let me try doing the whole head here. Add a mesh. Bevel. That's better. There we go. Yeah, okay. So now we can go ahead and do the same thing for the body here. Add a mesh, bevel. And sure. Alright. Now I'm just going to select these guys. Give it a quick bevel. And I actually don't really like how big his neck is anymore. I should. Oops. Now I should be able to simply bevel the arms and we should be good. Okay, so that's where the issue was earlier. Alright, so to fix this, what I'm going to do is just kind of reinforce this edge here by the arm by putting an edge in there. Do the same down here, same right here. Now let's do smooth preview, and that looks pretty good. That's kind of how I pictured him looking. So now let's go ahead and smooth. And that works for me. That works for me. Okay, so, ooh, got some really messy polygons in there. It's because I beveled it again. I probably shouldn't have done that. That's okay. Alright, so now what you want to do is do your UVs. So you know what, I actually might do this via planner. So planner basically projects the UVs on along whatever axis you determine. So if I do Z, it's going to, as you can see here, the Z axis is forward and back. So this face is on the Z axis. So if I project it, it projects it along the Z axis. If we go to UV editor, you can see we've got a character there. Now, pretty much what I'm going to do to make this easy on everybody is I'm going to select the edge around him. And that only seemed to have gotten his head. Okay, so I'm going to split that. And now I can grab the front and back of his head. Flip that, because you don't want blue, or red. You want blue. And I'll go ahead and unfold those. Fix their texture space. So now we've got the head, essentially. Front and back of the head. Now, the rest of the body, you can do the arms separately, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to worry too much about the rest of it because it's just a demonstration. So now that we have the UVs, basically what you always want to do when you're working with UVs is you want to move. I'm going to move him out because I haven't done that yet. You want to make sure that all of your UVs are within this 0 to 1 space. And that's very important for your light maps and normal maps. Okay, we're just going to kind of squeeze him in there. This isn't great. It's just because I haven't done them yet. But you want to take up as much of this space as possible, because the more space you take up, the more resolution you're going to get on your model via the texture. So now if I go to new material, I'm going to do just a Lambert. And I'm going to delete the history so it clears this up. Select the Lambert, go to color, checker, and place 2D texture, and I'm just going to bump up the tiling here. So as you can see, these are a bit warped over here, and the reason for that is because this is a square, and on our UVs it's rounded. That's the only reason. So when you're, if you wanted to leave your UVs like this, you would want to make sure your texture kind of curved with it, so you didn't have any weird warping on your texture. Another way to do it would be, you could do automatic. It's another option you can do. And automatic, actually I did a really good job. Tries to keep everything uniform, but it creates a bunch of, wow, that actually did a fantastic job. That's crazy. Doesn't usually do that good of a job. So yeah, so now these are actually square, the head bits. There's the body here, the arms, they pulled the arms out. That's crazy. That did a fantastic job. I'm impressed. You see how it did in there. Okay, there's a little seam right there. That's a little warped, but that's okay. And right here on the body, but it's not too much of a big deal, especially if you bring it into Mudbox and you're actually doing painting. The painting of the actual UVs via Mudbox will kind of make sure there's no seams. You can paint right over the seams and stuff with your texture. And actually, you know what? Why don't I just send his new scene to Mudbox? And I'll demonstrate that. So if we go to paint, paint tools, paintbrush, click. Now we can create a new diffuse. And I'm going to, I'll project this material. Okay. Projection. I don't want mirroring on. So I'm just going to do this thing here. Let's up my brush size and paint that right on there. I'm just trying to avoid going right on the edges there too, because it's based on the direction you're painting in. So if you paint over the edge, you'll get like a weird stretching. So yeah, I'm just kind of painting along here. Creating kind of a rusty texture look here. And I don't want the splotch in multiple spots, so I'm just gonna kind of lightly click, because I have it on the front there. I don't want it on the sides. So yeah, I essentially just kind of go around, paint the whole thing, and then I clean up those repeating sections. So it's not repeating over and over again. So I think I'll actually rotate it. I'll get a little bit different stuff going on here. You can see there. So yeah, again, I'm just kind of painting it. And then I'll clean up the big splotch there by moving this up. So right now I'm just kind of painting these bits in here. And I'll show you how you can get in there well also. Paint all these in. And again, I'm using the projection brush here. Alright, so that kind of has some stretching going on. So a little bit of stretching there too. There. And you can see kind of the stretching going on. So I'm just kind of painting in closer to the angle that it needs to be painted in. They're stretching right there. And this is what I meant by kind of hiding those seams. And I like clicking more than just holding down the button and painting, for the simple fact that it kind of hides it a little bit better. So now if we go to UV, we can go flatten. And then I can zoom in here, and you can see that now we have the UV map kind of flattened in space here. So I can make this bigger. I'm going to shrink down my brush and just kind of paint down here. Keep clicking to kind of blend in those seams a bit. that doesn't look bad at all. Okay, so unflatten. Right. Okay, so now we get the bottom there, and the head is all rustified. So now let's go ahead and create a normal map. Excuse me. Let's create a normal map. So we can duplicate, move selector to, bump map. Now we're going to click again, normal map from bump. You want tangent, Maya. And I'm going to delete the bump map. And bring that normal map down so it just kind of has a grittiness to it, right? Now I'm going to duplicate that again, move selected to specular. So now the specular color, it shines where there's light and it's dim where there's dark, essentially, because rust itself isn't really specular, but the metal is. So this just kind of helps give a nice, good looking texture on there. And you can go, of course, adjust this too. If you right click, adjust color, and let's say we wanted it like a little bit darker, so it really showed that these rust elements are actually rust, and it's not going to be specular. At least not too specular. Okay. Let's see, what else can we do? We can add some more blemishes if we want to. Let's create a new paint layer. And what I want to do is go to front. And I want to paint this hand down here. And I'm just trying to be careful not to get that flat edge. Okay, so now we can just multiply. And I don't like that. So let's go to paintbrush. And I'm going to select my hand stamp again. Invert. Okay. So now go ahead and select white. Normal. And now I can paint it in as kind of an alpha. Okay. Now it's got kind of a handprint on there. That's kind of neat. What else we got here? We got some cracks. Actually, I have a cool idea for this. Let's create a new layer. And this one is going to be incandescent. And I want to make it, let's make it red. And I want to select this guy again, turn off invert values. And we can actually paint in some like luminescent cracks. Pretty cool, right? Let's see what it looks like when I flatten. I'll flatten, zoom in here. Make Make my brush smaller. I'm going to use tiles, so it tiles this. Make it a bit smaller. And go ahead and paint those in. So the whole head is kind of covered. And I can go back in and fix up the seams after. So unflatten. Do something like that. Let me turn off specular. Turn off that, turn off that. And let's make a new diffuse. And let's see. If I invert again, UVs flatten. Turn that off real quick. Like a paintbrush. I'll choose like a gray. Okay. I just straight up paint those cracks in. Okay. Now I'm going to grab this, grab that, invert values again, paintbrush. I want to choose my red. Basically, I'm just doing this so it lines up a bit. I'm not being too careful, so bear with me here. But yeah, I can turn off this normal map and do the same thing here. Right click, move him to bump. Normal map from bump. Delete bump. I want to delete this again. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different methods you could do. I like the hand. But, yeah, so that's just kind of a fancy little rundown of what you can do. And you can also, let me delete these. And you can click update. Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, you want to just make sure you export all these first. So that's export selected. S. Export selected. N. Now update. I just did. I don't feel like going through that, but so we'll go here. Right click, new material, blend. And now we can go ahead and set those up. And the reason the body just, because they're PNGs, it has it translucent in the base. Because there's no texture there. specular file. Grab that specular. Let's go to rendering. And I'll just do a quick render, and we'll call it a day. This mental ray renderer. You can kind of see what the at least the head texture looks like when it's rendered out, and it'll give you a general idea of what it could look like in a game engine. Well, there you have it. I didn't create a body texture, so it's just black, so you can't really see it, but that's okay. Well, cool guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.